How we doing?
How you doing, bro? You alright? You're
Good. Yeah,
sideways
I'm
for some
good.
reason.
Go on. Hold on. I'm just trying to find it. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, it's better. You, by the
There
way,
we go.
you've been the most punctual out of everyone. So,
Have
so
I?
I applaud
That's
you.
good.
It's got to be
Listen,
something to do with your job, mate.
it's well, exactly my job, and obviously when I'm refereeing, I need to make sure like to be on time. I like my co-referee, Mr. Amida, who's always late.
How you
How
been?
have you been? Good.
Yeah, good. I've actually burnt my head today at work. So
I was going to say you're looking a bit red there, mate.
yeah, facing the thing is, I'm not used. Well, I say I'm not used to this bald life, but not used to the bald life working outdoors. So yeah, getting a bit red.
Okay. I know you got wear the hat, my friend. You got to look
Yeah,
after yourself.
I'm gutted. I have to.
And
I haven't got the ears. The problem is I haven't got the ears for a hat. You see, it just does this.
yeah, but hold on, they're more pink. All right, wear it backwards. Most guys who have cauliflower ears or MMA fighters wear their cap like American style, don't
This
they?
is true.
Backwards and
But the problem is you have
yeah.
to get those caps where they don't have the little, the little eye at the front.
Oh yeah,
Because
yeah. I know what
otherwise,
you
all
mean.
you can see is just scalp like that. Just looks
Yeah,
ridiculous.
and last thing you want is a sunburn or a tan line with
Can you imagine like just a
yeah,
sort
picture. Yeah.
a sort of semicircle on your head like that, red? You look like
Anyway,
Ronaldo, wouldn't you?
enough of doing that, mate. I can see someone doing a gif of us too.
How have you been?
I'm good, my friend. Yeah, I'm good. Like yourself, been working. As you know, I'm a postie by day.
Yeah.
So yeah, been working during this chaotic times, and yeah, on my days off, been at home like most people, man. Just trying to get a workout in, looking after the kids, and homeschooling, so to speak, and with the help of my wife. So yeah, it's a crazy times, huh?
Yeah, it is a crazy time, mate. It is a crazy time. And it's do you know what?
But
I actually didn't know that you were a postie, so that's a new insight for me.
yeah,
I didn't even know that.
yeah, I am. I am. I've been a postie. I think there's never enough. As long as I've been a referee, 13 years I've been a postie. Yeah, so
Bloody
it
hell.
works. It works well. It works well with the job that being refereeing and stuff. I can rotate my shift and it's an active job. I can't. Me personally, couldn't sit behind the desk and do anything like that. I have to be out and about. But yeah, I'm a postie by trade. So yeah, being out there delivering people's parcels and stuff that they need, I guess.
Nice, nice. I mean, we got a few people just come on, so I just want to say hello to everyone that's come on. Guy, Tiger Dean, The Rascal, Pam, Jennifer, Zoe, Aladdin BJJ. My girlfriend's on here as well watching. Aladdin's put, so Danny Dell's put you the best referee in the game.
Oh, thank you very much. How much does he want?
and Neto's on here as well.
Oh,
With
that's true
his
guy,
trademark.
man. I mean, listen, as you guys know, we especially those two I've known for many years, even before refereeing. I've known them obviously on other shows, whether they're teaching BJJ or fighting themselves. Crazy world, and even this is a question I was going to actually put to you regarding obviously you're a big BJJ guy and you got your own club, etc. But how the sport has taken over now, in a sense, there's more recognition, i.e.,
Yeah.
whether it be stuff on television or online or for UFC Fight Pass. It's crazy to see how this has all evolved. Where back in the day, even going back 6-7 years ago, BJJ clubs were big, but they weren't big, if you know what I mean. There
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't the cool thing to go and do, or look, I'll go and train BJJ now. It used to be always, oh, I'm going to go and become a cage fighter,
Yeah.
or I'm going to become a kickboxer. But now a lot of people, and it goes from different age groups, which I absolutely love
I
about.
tell you
It's good
what,
to see people like yourselves and Neto doing well at it.
it's really interesting because so I first started teaching in 2012, and
Okay.
it predominantly the classes were mainly MMA, and like you said, like at that time it was heavy MMA. You get 20-30 people turn up to an MMA class, and you might get 5 people turn up to a BJJ class. And then what actually happened was there was like a seesaw effect, and it slowly started to lift towards BJJ, and MMA dropped off. And what I've actually found, especially with silverbacks, is the MMA classes got quieter and quieter, and the BJJ classes got busier and busier. So, I mean, I don't know whether that's down to the lifestyle of the sport compared to MMA, or the more recognition exposure. I'm not 100% sure, but or even whether it was our drive, whether we sort of drove people more towards BJJ rather than MMA. I don't really know, because we had an active MMA team, and funny enough, you've refed probably every single MMA fighter we've had out from our gym. So
most probably. But do you know what? You're going back to that the shift, or that you're saying about the tilt and the shift. It also it's the availability of it now as well. You know, the access to it. It never. Whereas before, I felt like, just like MMA training used to be like a underground club kind of thing, you know. Whereas, but now you got a hell of a lot more access to it, you know. And it's good, you know. People like yourself, Neto, Danny, you know, invite everyone from kids to adults, and you know, you don't necessarily have to go do BJJ because you learn how to do MMA. You can go do BJJ because you want to do BJJ, and you can. And now, especially, there's a pathway to a career of actually, whether you're teaching as a professional like yourself, or you want to compete in submission only, or IBJJF tournaments with prize money. There's actually a pathway to be able to go and make a living off it, which is good, you know.
Yeah. And like you say, it's where it's being more exposed. People are putting events on where they got prize money and so on and so forth, and more people sort of being driven to compete. Like, I know, obviously, I'm gonna ask you about it, but obviously you compete BJJ as well, right? And
you say compete. I enjoy just having a roll out, my friend.
Don't be ridiculous, mate. You're being too kind.
Honestly, obviously, like you know, I've competed on a couple of your shows that you've put on, or the tournaments, should I say, that you've put on, and must say, very well run. Really enjoyed it, but and I know you was going to have another one, and then this thing happened,
man.
But I'm sure, you know, in months ahead it will happen. But yeah, I just enjoy the training aspect. I enjoy the competition, and to be fair and be absolutely honest, I just love seeing people down there, just, you know, walking past. Hey, how you doing, Dan? Or how you doing, mate? You know, just having a little chinwag of the day. And like I said, it is good that these competitions are about, and it gives people opportunity, like myself, who don't take it too seriously and just want to be there and have a grapple, whether you win or don't win, to the level of people who do want to go there, get a good experience, get good grappling before they go to the, I don't know, the European Championships or the World Championships, whatever it may be. It's a good platform that we've got in the UK, and very good events like yourselves and other ones that you know, providing for people to do that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's support from people like yourself that make it like viable to do those comps. Because I tell you, one of the biggest things is, as a promoter for a competition, so many competitions that are offering so much now, with like prize money for white belts, blue belts, even belts. I mean, BJJ All Star. Is it All Stars BJJ?
All Stars BJJ.
They've got a brilliant setup with their competition, and they run a lot of competitions. They have prize money for the absolute winners, and they have belts. And the thing is, like, that's really, really good. But and naturally, it kind of raises the standards of each show. You've got to start stepping up. But it actually, in fairness, it actually really frustrates me, because what it naturally does is people feel like they're more entitled, like to get money and stuff. So kind of like is one real big bonus from it, and there's also one negative side from it as well.
Dude, you're talking to a guy who used to promote MMA. You know,
well, mate, Fury MMA.
And the same thing, you know, you want to make it, try to be ahead of the game, or, you know, make a flashier belts, or, you know, make this fight, that fight. But with the BJJ stuff, like you said, there are competitions out there that offer prize money, that offer belts, that offer, I don't know, even the basic, I say basic, but someone it may not be, but even a gi, you know, you win a gi, gis these days, good gi costs 70 to 80 quid, or maybe even higher than that. You know, to give that as a prize money to a white belt or a blue belt, it's like, wow, you know, you feel like you've achieved something. But I hope it doesn't water down the competitions, if you know what I mean. Like you said, definitely, someone who's an all-star BJJ champion comes onto your show and expects the, I don't know, expects the, whether it be to get a buy, to have special treatment because who they are or what they've won previously. You know, it should be a level playing field. But that's what I think. But who am I? I'm not really deep in the BJJ stuff. So.
To be honest, I completely agree with you. And like I said, it does it does frustrate me. I mean, it's a long conversation, but it does really frustrate me because I hear it. I mean, people say, "Oh, are you doing a prize money for the absolute, or are you doing prize money for people winning their division, or are you doing a belt and stuff like that?" And and obviously that's boosting up the costs of how much it costs to put a promotion on, as you know. And it does give you a bit of it annoys me because, like I said, it's the entitlement. People then new people come into the sport and they see that one show is doing prize money and they see that other shows aren't, and they kind of kind of expect that everyone
expect it. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think I think really that prize money, everything like that, should be for the higher belts rather than the lower belts, and because they you know, there's an argument for both sides, but personally I think like the people like the higher belts have, one, they got a more to offer in the sense of like a higher standard, but they've also got a lot to lose as well. And you do need to, unfortunately, you do need to kind of like drive people to compete and get people out to compete, because a lot of them do feel peer pressure from either students or other training partners.
But it's the same. I'll bring it back to like amateur MMA. So surely like your white belts and your, let's say, beginner blue belts who've just got their blue belts, surely them just competing on a show, having a show available to them, win, lose or draw, is good enough for them. There shouldn't be a prize money. Again, I agree. I'm sure people tell me to shut the fuck up in a second.
I completely agree.
But same with but it's the same with MMA. With the amateur guys, you know, like I say to them, win, lose or draw, in one aspect, it doesn't matter. It's an amateur career. This is where you do your learning. This is where you make your mistakes. And should you want to go to a professional career, this is the time where you know, whether you got caught in an armbar, whether you got knocked out, whether you made a silly mistake, it doesn't matter. No one cares. In obviously your fans care, you as a fighter care, but in you know, in the big aspect of things, it's just a learning curve, you know. And you know, like you said, if white belts are expecting prize money, it's like, hold on. A couple of years ago, or less than 5, there was no competition for white belts to compete. It was only, again, tell me if I'm wrong, for the higher belts you could really compete. You know, so be lucky that you've got this platform to be able to go and compete and be able to go and show your skill sets on a platform like yourselves and other BJJ competitions.
And like you say, like when you were doing Fury MMA, obviously, like I had a lot of amateur guys come and fight on your shows, and to us, like purses and prize money and stuff like that wasn't really a thing. Because it's amateur, like the whole point of it, you don't get paid in amateur boxing, you don't get paid in other amateur sports. That's the whole point of it being called amateur. But like you say, the problem is now there is that expectation that you should start earning money and bits and bobs, and it's a hard one, isn't it? But I agree with you completely. Like they shouldn't be like earning money. I know there's the argument for you're putting a lot on the line and it's a full contact sport, but then like look at rugby. Rugby's
I know. I didn't mean in the sense that amateurs shouldn't get paid. Don't get me wrong. If a promotion can pay the amateur fighters, whether it be minimal just to cover some of their training or travel cost, or I don't know, something towards their supplements or whatever it may be, that's fine. But what I meant is that it's for them to turn up expecting to get paid. You know, it's different if you've got an amateur champion who's defended their belt 6-7 times. By that point, you would have thought they'll turn pro. But, you know, whatever reason, you as a promotion, you try to look after them. But for someone who comes in straight away, we haven't seen them fight, we don't know what they are, but they're making all these demands because they think they should, that's for me, that's wrong, you know. But, you know, hey-ho.
Mate, we
can't please everybody.
We're going to get hated on regardless what we say. People are going to agree with us and people are going to disagree with us. Like, it's the beauty of it.
Of course they are.
Do you know what? So one of the questions I want to ask, because a lot of people won't actually know the answer to this question, was the same question I've been asking everyone, which was basically, how did you get involved in martial arts? Where did it all start for you?
For me, martial arts itself, I was born here in England, and then my dad's Iranian, my mum's English, and then we moved to Iran when I was 5 years old, and we lived out there. And during my primary school days in Iran, obviously every summer camp, my dad either used to put me in some sort of sports, whether it be swimming, skating, and one year he put me in karate. And I absolutely Shotokan karate. I absolutely loved it. I've got vague memory of it, of doing it just for the 6 weeks holiday, 7 weeks holiday we used to have in Iran. I think it was just mainly to get me out of the house, which I'm, not a pain in the ass to my mum. And ever since then, I was just intrigued with martial arts. My uncle back in Iran also used to watch all the Bruce Lee movies. I remember the Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee scene. And like I said, it's always stuck in my head. And when we moved over here, when I started year 7, so when I was 11 years old, first year, whatever, about 13 years old, I started kickboxing with King's Kickboxing, done by Andy Mayo. And that was in Beckenham Leisure Centre, 2 nights a week. Again, wouldn't say I was fantastic at it, but it just kept me active. And again, I'm sure my mum just sent me there just for the sake of it, just to get me out of the house. And I can actually speak for myself. I've got 2 boys who are very active, and one of them does BJJ, the other one does rugby. So they're active kids. So I can see where my mum got it from. Like, run some energy off, So started at King's Kickboxing. Had a couple of what you call amateur, weren't even full contact then. It was back then kickboxing, no low kicks, but above the waist. Fighting, done that, and again, cut another long story short, I started going to a gym called Blue Rock Gym when I was 16, and Wolf from Gladiator used to own it. And I remember going there after school or after college, and he was there. And we got to know him. I ended up started working behind the desk for him a couple of hours on the weekend, doing the reception behind the gym. And he knew Dave O'Donnell, who used to run Cage Rage at the time. And he said, "Oh, do you fancy coming up to Haygate Centre in Elephant Castle?" And they do MMA there, or cage fighting as everyone used to call it. Do you fancy coming with me, Dan? I went, yeah, why not? Wolf from Gladiator asking you if you fancy doing a bit of training. And at that point, I'd watched some of the UFCs. I'd had an interest in MMA or cage fighting, or no holds barred back then, as everyone used to call it. So yeah, cut a long story short, I was 16, turning 17. I went with Mike, also known as Wolf, to Dave O'Donnell's elite fighting system, and got into mixed martial arts through that way, and I loved it. I can't say I was the greatest at it, and I know my record would say something totally different. Of course, I had 8 losses before I got my first win. Again, my mum always is saying, "Look, go and do the training, but don't do the fighting." But as you know, you want to kind of put it to the test. Everyone else is doing it. It was the cool thing back then as well, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the test of it. I enjoyed the challenge. I enjoyed the people I was with. Win or lose. Again, I did enjoy it. Some people say maybe I should have given up after because I did get knocked out a couple of times. But again, I enjoyed it, and touch wood, I'm still saying still healthy.
Still compos mentis.
Yes.
Do you know what? Do you like with obviously the current your current knowledge of obviously MMA and being around it as much as you have been, running and promoting shows, refereeing at shows, stuff like that. Do you ever get that urge or feeling to step back in there again?
One time I did many years ago, and then I kind of got into the training of it back again. For okay, let me go. I've had my times of being punched in the head, and it's been in training as well. Training with the guys at Titan when I did go between Elite and Team Titan. I'd had enough, and that's another reason why I did start getting into the grappling competition, because again, wanted that feeling of being around people, getting that bit of competition going. But as far as even now, if we go down the gym and people go, "Oh, come, let's do a bit of MMA sparring," I'm like, "No, thank you, I'm good, man." I'd rather be the guy looking after the fighters and doing the grappling side of stuff, as opposed to getting punched in the head. But no, I don't. No more. Especially now I've got a family as well, 2 boys and a wife. So no, thank you.
And so what made you go into? Because obviously you did King's MMA, didn't you? And Fury MMA. What got you into promoting and doing an MMA show?
What, starting Fury MMA out?
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Yeah.
That was him again. He used to. He used to come down to Metroflex or Blue Rock Gym where I used to work at with Wolf from Gladiator, and I used to do a couple of PT sessions with Steve. He used to train with me, just take him on pads, etc. And he just come up with a crazy idea. He went, "Oh, I'm thinking of doing an MMA event. Do you, you're quite knowledgeable. You've trained, you've fought. Do you fancy being the ref for it?" So that's how that. I refed a couple of shows previous to that, KO MMA, which was Danny Beaver's promotion, and then I've
I
done
remember
Ashley
that.
Grimshaw. Yeah, I've done
Yeah.
Ashley Grimshaw's. He done a show with Philip too, down in what was it called? What's the nightclub called up in London? Oh, is it Scala or something like that? So it showed that they had a couple of amateur guys, and again, that's how I got into MMA originally. Is by Ashley Grimshaw telling me, "Hey Dan, I've got a couple of amateur guys, and a couple of them were from Team Titan as well. Do you want to officiate it?" Yeah,
Oh, we
like
keep
Grant,
losing you, mate.
Leon, they're the guys. Can you hear me now? Am I back?
Yeah, yeah. The signal keeps going. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. If it does, tell me, and I'll try to sort it out. But I was saying that's how I got into it through Ashley Grimshaw, who got me into to officiating. So then fast forward, and
So,
Steve said to me,
sorry, I was going
"Do
to
you
say.
want
So
to referee
that's
Fury?"
actually got you into
Go,
refereeing. Was actually promoting the show,
Grimshaw.
or being
No,
asked to
no, no,
referee
no,
on
no.
it.
No, being asked to referee by the like of Ashley Grimshaw and Danny Beaver, like you said, KO MMA
Right. Yeah, I
was his
remember
first show
KO
he'd
MMA.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, many moons ago, coming up
Yeah.
10 years
Yeah.
ago, I think that was now. That's how I got into refereeing, and obviously with the guidance of Leon Roberts, Grant Waterman, and obviously now likes of Goddard,
Yeah.
Rich Mitchell, people like that. That's how I got into refereeing, and I've done a couple of shows refereeing, and then obviously then Steve saw that. It was like, "Oh, do you fancy doing the promote a Fury MMA show? Then you can also referee and maybe bring other referees on." That's how we got into that. Enjoyed the promotion, enjoyed doing it to some aspect, apart from the headache that you get with pull-outs and
Yeah.
other headaches. And then I knew, look, I want to take this seriously. Then I don't know if you noticed, but as the shows went on with Fury MMA promoting, I took a step
Yeah.
back a little bit as far as officiating goes. So I brought other referees on board. And then after that, we kind of, had enough of Fury MMA. I was like, look, it's conflict of interest trying to run a promotion, referee some fighters
Mm.
that I know, and running a promotion. So didn't want any type of favoritism kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
And we stopped Fury MMA but carried on refereeing, which I loved.
Yeah. So where did you go when you stopped Fury, and you decided I'm going to take the refereeing on more full time? Where did you go from there?
Let's put a pause to that. Referee's never a full-time job, my
No,
friend.
no, no.
It's why I'm still
Well, as we know, 'cause you're still a posted. So.
I'm still a postman. But yeah, no. From there I went to at the time UCMMA, obviously, or Cage Rage Contenders as it was called at the time. Then other various promotions that I was doing around England. I tried to name some. Contenders MMA was one of them up in Norwich. Done a couple down Southampton. So yeah, just by again having that links through Fury MMA and other people who were doing promotions or doing fight MMA promotions contacted me, and yeah, the rest is kind of history, so to speak. And like you said, King's MMA, which Danny and his brother ran, shows like that, startup shows who are trying to get a foot in the door. And I always offered my services because first and foremost, I'm there for the safety of the fighters.
So when it came to officiating, and obviously on all of the shows, did you
Yeah.
get like the ultimate say on the rule set of what you wanted to see, or was it the promoters telling
What?
you what they wanted and so on and so forth?
No. See, listen. This question comes up quite a lot.
I
Look,
actually already know the answer, but I think it's important for other people to know.
There's even on Fury MMA. When we first started Fury MMA, we were going by what everyone else was doing in the country and some of the things they were doing in stateside. Okay, i.e., whether it would be amateur guys, no headshots, body shots only. And at the time there used to be this word going around called semi-pro MMA.
Yeah, yeah,
And again, we were, I say, at full, but then as times went on and as people like IMAF and people like Goddard, Leon, trying to make sure that everyone's under the same rule set for all the events, we adhered to that as well. So we did end up changing it to making sure that everyone wears 7-ounce gloves, and we did allow headshots and 3-minute rounds. And the unified rules are here today for the amateur guys. And I have been on promotions that were like, oh, well, actually, we want this fighter to do standing headshots, but none on the ground. And we want this one to do shots on the ground, but no standing. I was like, look, these are the rule sets that we're going to go by. Work with me. Trust me, in a couple of years' time, everyone's going to be doing it. Why don't you be some of the promotions that are doing it as well? And 9 times out of 10, majority of the promotions were like, you know, I've heard it all. Oh, this guy won't fight for us. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. You keep
yes,
it kind of stops you every now and again.
My signal is okay. I don't know if it will. Anyway, we'll crack on. So I've had promotions or promoters go to me. Oh, listen, Dan, this guy here, he wants to fight, have knees to the head for his amateur.
Yeah.
I was like, no. He was like, yeah, but you know, he sold a lot of tickets. I'm like, and you know,
yeah.
You know, if it doesn't fight or he fights and he fights under those rules, you know.
Ultimately, do you have the ultimate say then? So when it comes to an event,
yes.
you go to a show and they sort of say to you, right, this guy, he's decided that he only wants to do this rules or he doesn't want to do strikes to the head. Do you have the ultimate say and you'll say that bout won't go ahead, or will you, or do you have to abide by what the promoter says or not?
No, where the promoters got to abide by the rule sets that's set, that which most of the UK shows go by whatever's set in the States. So you're the unified amateur rules, unified or pro rules. And it's like you said, you know, some promoters will come up to me and go, look, give them an option. I'll say to them, look, listen, you've got 2 options. Either this fight happens like this, or the fight doesn't happen at all, or try to find a better opponent that can be matched, that meets his requirement, you know. We've had it in the past where people have fought pro, and then I'll go to another promotion and the guy's fighting amateur, and I'll say to the promoter, I'll be like, he fought amateur last month. He fought pro last month, so why is he fighting amateur on your show? And I pulled him off. I say either he fights pro rules against another pro fighter, or he doesn't fight at all, period, you know.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's not. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like it's as sanctioned, it's highly sanctioned. Obviously, nowhere near like it is in the US, which is a question I wanted to speak to you about actually. What do you think needs to change in the UK to kind of abide and sort of follow suit with the US when it comes to unified rules and governing bodies?
If I'm honest, because I know a couple of people stateside as well. It's not all you know flowers and glorious there either. They have their problems. They have promotions that don't abide by the rules.
Different rules are different state commissions, right? And this is another thing because most people again, like the assumption is that the referees are actually employed by the promotion, but that's actually wrong, isn't it? You're actually employed by the state commission, correct?
Yeah, you are applied by hired by the state commission.
Yeah, so you actually nothing to do with the
commission provide. No. And the thing is though, Paul, you were saying that about the rules and regulations here. Look, as long as the referees who are in the game, like I said, I know I keep bringing them up, Leon, Neil Hall, Rich Mitchell, Sam Amidi, Mark Goddard, a couple of more other up-and-coming referees as well, who, especially if they work with us and with those type of guys, even down to the judges, they're going to those shows, they will make sure that the rules are adhered to by the standard and the regulations and what is set, you know, what the unified rules are. If it's not, trust me, they'll get up and they'll leave. Leave that venue. What needs to happen is, a governing body does need to come on board, but again, it is down to the promotions. It is down to the individual, even the gyms that go to the shows. They need to make sure that their fighters are fighting under unified rules as well. So that's what needs happening, making sure that the referees who are there, they are standing by their guns and making sure that promotions do have the rules and regulations that are meant to be in place. Yeah,
I mean, when do you see that there'll ever be any type of commission come over to the UK that will work on that?
type of commission, well, governing body, hopefully soon, that would be good. But commission, like for example, the UFC, they self-commission when they like come to the UK, so they'll have referees like myself, Goddard, Leon, whoever, and the judges, the experienced judges. So they kind of self-commission. There's no governing body here to do that. But again, they make sure that they have the right people to do the right job. Again, as long as promotions use the right people and don't try to cut corners, whether it be for trying to get a cheaper referee, a cheaper judge. As long as they don't try to cut corners, then it should theoretically run well, especially like, again, making sure you've got the right medical team, make sure you've got the right doctors, right ambulance crew, enough medical people there, and right judges, right cutmen, etc. But again, that comes down to us as referees as well. So you wouldn't work a show if you haven't got a cutman. You wouldn't work a show if you haven't got a medical team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What do you think, how do you think even like a governing body could be formed in the UK for MMA?
Say that again, Paul. You cut out. I'm so sorry.
You cut out. That's all right, mate.
Yeah.
How do you think a governing body could be formed in the UK to sanction and regulate our MMA?
You need. Yeah, I got it. I think I got the question though. I think you need good figureheads of MMA to come together and to propose something to. I think it's happened before. They try to go for like Sports England to try to back it up, have a manifesto set out and a progression path set out for it to happen. I know that's something like IMAF are doing. It's they've got for coaches. The standard of coaching that's got to be done before a fight can take place. Now they've just announced also that there is some sort of, this is for the amateur guys, by the way.
Yeah.
And the amateur guys there's a grading system as well for the amateur guys. So you've got to meet a certain requirement before you can have your amateur fight or be matched up, etc. But yeah, you do need good figureheads, and I believe people like Goddard are on this at the moment, and trying to, make way for it to happen. And hopefully it will happen. Just someone will need to take notice. But again, it is, even if it doesn't happen, it is down to the promotion, down to the referees, down to the officials to all come together to make sure this sport of ours is as safe as it can be, regardless if there's government backing or not. Why? If we can do it ourselves and make sure it's safe, then in a way you don't need the government if you're making it safe and abiding by the rules.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
if that makes sense.
Did it? I can't remember for the life of me. For the guys that were fighting on BAMMA, and the pro fighters have to sign to something for head scans and stuff, correct? And blood.
Safe MMA.
Safe MMA. That's it. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah. So and I know Bellator do it as well when they come over. So they use Safe MMA. Look, man, at the beginning when that come out, and I'm sure still now a lot of people will go, "Oh, but why should we pay for head scans? Or why should this be this? It's expensive, etc." Me personally, I was at a show when a guy got pulled out. I think it was a Cage Warriors in Dublin. When a guy got pulled out because his head scan had come back with something that they were concerned about.
Yeah.
And even the fighter was so thankful for that. Now, if you can, and he may have come back and he may have fought afterwards and it may have been nothing, but just the fact that, there's something there that they was worried about and they managed to prevent something else happening to him, whether it be from one blow, one shot in a fight that could have made it 10 times worse, even if it was to get worse. But safety, fighter safety, you can't cut corners around it, and it's a hard one because, like I said, you have fighters going, but why should I have to pay this much to have my bloods done and my scans done and all that? But most promotions will compensate you for that anyway. But like I say to some of the guys, I say even if you finished fighting, you've had a fight and you didn't have to have a brain scan, get yourself down to the hospital and ask for one. Get one done just for your own sake.
Yeah. He's like you say, fighters. For you as an official, fighters' health and safety is paramount, right? Whereas
of course it is.
It's as crude or as horrible as it sounds, not so much for the promotion. The promotion's job is to promote the fight, make it as entertaining as possible, bums in seats, maximise sales, profits. And And I think that's where a lot of people get confused between what you're doing to what a promotion's doing and what you're doing on that promotion, which actually leads me straight into my next question. So you've got the best seat in the house when it comes to the fights, right? You're closer to the fights than anyone else. You get a better view than anybody else, sometimes even better than the fighter itself.
Yep.
And there's a lot of times you obviously have to step in and stop fights. My question is, when you take that decision or make that decision to step in, first question is what makes you step in? Is my first question.
Okay. Can I just put a little twist to this? Is this for an amateur fighter or a professional fighter?
Give me both.
Okay. So depending what the scenario is for a professional fighter, listen, at the end of the day, if you're not intelligently defending yourself, now whether it be standing up or on the ground, and you're just covering up or you're just shrimping once, twice, when I say to you, improve your position, show me you're okay, show me something else, what that in my eyes is whatever you're showing me at that specific time, in my eyes, is not intelligently defending yourself. And look, again, safety is paramount. And you know, I've stopped fights before. I've done it with your guys from your gyms before, and I'm sure people watching on there go, yeah, I remember him stopping that fight, etc. And you have a fighter jumping, oh, ref, I was okay, I was this, I was that. But instead of jumping up in my face and going, yeah, I was all right, use that energy to show me something else. I'm not saying, you know, you clearly didn't know how to get out of that position, okay? And it was, you know, it was going to go, sorry, in my eyes, it was going to go one way, okay? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yep, am I back? Yep. And my job is to make sure you are safe and make sure that you don't take any another unnecessary punishment or damage that, you know, that could affect your health, you know. Now, I've had situations where we've been from ground and pound. This is going with professional fighters. Again, I'll give you every opportunity to work your way out of there. And I've had it when I've had standing stoppages. So guys getting lit up, standing up, and I don't have to wait for him to get knocked out for me to step in there. If you're not throwing back, if you're not intelligently defending yourself, if you're not showing me you're still in this fight, just because you throw one punch back every 2 seconds is not intelligently defending yourself, you know? And I have stopped fights before, and then you've got a fighter say to you, oh, ref, you should have let him knock me out. Well, if that's the case, why the fuck am I there?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You know? And again, there's been other times where a guy has got knocked down hard and he's hit the canvas, but he's been out on his feet, hits the canvas, comes to, and I've already stepped in. I've already seen your eyes roll back. I've already seen your arms go limp, but you've come back as soon as you've hit that canvas, and you may be, okay, I'm ready to fight, hands are up, etc. But by that point, I'm on top of you, waving it off, and you go, but ref, why did you stop it? And then, you know, I've had fighters gone back and watched the replay and gone, oh, yeah, I can see why you stopped it. Of course, man, look, you're there to fight, and most fighters will turn around and say, ref, I will fight till I'm knocked out, till I die, or whatever it may be. But my job is to prevent you from doing that. You know, it's a catch-22. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And for amateur fighters, especially, amateur fighters, obviously, the ground and pound scenario, stand-up scenario is exactly the same. But you do act more on the side of caution with amateur guys. Okay, you're more inexperienced. You've got a lot more to play for, i.e. the longevity of your career. You know, we want to make sure the whole point of having an amateur pathway is to make sure that you have as many amateur fights as you can and get experience, whether it's win or lose, for you to be able to get to that professional stage and to have a good career at that professional stage. Amateur guys, we usually do say, look, if you're caught in a submission, i.e. in an armbar, if you're stuck in that armbar and you don't know how to get out of it, or you're not showing me that you can intelligently get out of it, especially the most referees do train especially in BJJ, whether it be even to a blue belt standard, they know how to get out of an armbar. But if you're not tapping, your ego's taking over and you can't show us, whether you tap or don't tap, we'll step in and stop that fight. And, you know, we've had it we had it on Cage Warriors, Southeast Academy, where a guy was, but if I didn't tap, but yet your arm's hyperextending, I want you to be able to go back to the gym on Monday, to be able to come and fight in a month's time, you know. But they're the things they don't see, you know, and it is hard, you know. Sorry, I've got to put the charger in. And it's hard when you see a fighter say that to me, you know. Oh, but Rev, you should have let my arm break. I'm like, why would I do that?
Well, because it leads on to my second question. So the second part of the question is, how do you deal with it mentally when they're jumping up and they're screaming at you, their coach is screaming at you, sometimes even a promoter might scream at you and sort of say or whatever. Yeah. How do you deal with that mentally? Yeah. What is there a system you find yourself adopting?
Yeah. You look, at the end of the day, you know that. Listen, once you've made that decision, you've made that decision to step in and stop the fight. Regardless, that's it, done. You can't take it back. You can't go, oh shit, hold on, actually, yeah, let me reset you. I'm really sorry, I made a mistake. If you made a mistake, you got to deal with it. Touch wood, I've been okay. But I've had people jump in my face, Rip, why the fuck did you stop it? I've had two sides of the story. I've had it when the fighters and their camps are right in my face. Oh, what the fuck, ref, you stopped here. Why, you should have let my arm break. I didn't tap, blah, blah, blah. And I've had the promoter come in and go, Dan, great stoppage. And they're taking the fighter away and go, look, mate, when you watch it back, you'll understand. I've also had the side where the promoter's gone, what the fuck, Dan, why did you stop it? And again, when they've watched it back themselves, they're like, okay, I get it, you know. And I always say to them, look, it's the decision I've made. Yeah. I've made it. Whether you agree with it, you agree with it. Whether you disagree with it, you disagree with it. You know, and 9 times out of 10, also, surely you want that fighter to be healthy, be safe, for them to be able to come back and fight on your promotion again. Yeah. You know, but it is a tough one, especially on like social media these days. But you just got to ignore it, because otherwise, if you don't, you will fucking beat yourself up with every decision you make. Yeah. You know,
exactly. So I mean, there's so much I wanted to talk to you about, and I know you're limited for time. No. I know you.
No, go for it, man.
I know you're limited for time.
I'm good for another 15 minutes, buddy. 15, 20 minutes. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, I've been there obviously to a lot of shows that you referee, Dan, and sometimes I do not envy your job at all, but sometimes I do, because of some of the fights you get to officiate. Is there any fight that sticks out in your mind that was great to officiate, like just a brilliant fight?
For me personally, if I had to say, it was obviously my first UFC that I done in Liverpool back in 2018. Trevor Smith versus Elias Theodoros. That was my first UFC gig. I was stoked to do it. Again, with a great team around me. In obviously city of Liverpool, the fucking loud crowd, crazy crowd. And obviously you had Stephen Thompson versus Darren Till as your main event.
Yeah.
And you was talking about having the best seats in the house. And, you know, you get to that stage and you're like, all right, the hard work, don't get me wrong, the hard work hasn't finished, but part of it's paid off, you know, being patient. You know, fellow referees who I look up to, and they say, look, man, just keep doing what you're doing at the low levels, keep doing what you're doing, and the time will come. And I say that to the referees who I take under my wing now. I say, look, don't just because you see, sometimes I put an Instagram picture up, oh, I'm in Italy, or I'm here, I'm there. Believe it if you want to believe it, but it's not all it's made up to be, for one. And two, I've earned my way there. I like to think I've earned my way there, at least, definitely. You know, and your time will come. You know, I remember days when I used to get excited traveling down to Brighton and doing an event there, going, fucking hell, I'm by the beach. This is lovely here. I'm staying in a hotel for the weekend. You know, that used to excite me, you know. And, you know, you know, we've had referees come and go who've tried to make the big jump and go, yeah, I'm ready, I'm doing this. And then they get exposed on a bigger stage, whether it will be making a bad call, whether it will be not looking confident or being confident in their calls. You will get found out. That's the bottom line. And it's no different than fighting in MMA, no different than doing BJJ, no different than anything else. You try to cut a corner, eventually it'll catch up with you and bite you on the ass. And you'll know about it. And you're better off making your mistakes, better off making your second guesses, better off making your calls that you're not too sure about, or asking the questions you need to ask at the lower level, at the lower stage. And when you get to the bigger stage, for you to be confident that the calls you make, the decisions you make, you know, it's 100% and you've done it right. You know, you're not second guessing yourself, you know. And again, like I said, for me, the fight that you said that I told you stood out in UFC, and an event that stands out was definitely Liverpool. But again, I was lucky enough, and I said this in an interview a couple of weeks ago, that had the likes of Goddard, Leon, Neil Hall, Rich Mitchell, and the judges who were from the UK, having my first event with my UK officials who I'd refed on and worked with on other shows. It felt like home, kind of, so to speak. I wasn't in a foreign country. I wasn't somewhere else for my first UFC gig, and I wasn't nervous. It was just like another day in the office, which was, you know, I'm grateful for them as well.
Yeah, brilliant, man. You deserve it, in fairness, because you have worked hard. You worked from the little shows that nobody ever went to or nobody ever saw. You know, officiating in rings, then onto cages, and you know, and traveling all over the country, like you said. So, mate,
I wouldn't change that though. But I wouldn't change that. Until this day, I still do shows who are up and coming. I still do shows that are, you know, whether it be the first show or the fifth show. The fact that the reason I love it, especially now, the amateur scene is thriving. You know, you got fighters who are coming up, and hopefully you will see in the future, in whether it be UFC, Bellator, Cage Warriors, you know, the types of promotions that you want to see them in. But getting those lower levels, and again, for me, it's close to my heart that the lower level shows or the up and coming shows adhere to the rule sets to make it fair for those guys and girls who are performing at amateur scene to have the level playing field, the right rule sets, etc. So when they get to the top, they're not like, oh shit, that's not what we done at, I don't know, Bob's MMA event the other week. How come this is different here? Well, that's what it should have been. Yeah. It should have been unified rules. It should have been looked after, you know.
Because in fairness, that does actually happen, even at the top, right? Where people misunderstanding. Recently, I was reading an article on the misunderstanding of the grounded opponent. With they changed it, didn't they, to 2 hands on the floor or anything more than 2 soles and a knee, correct?
No, well, it's changed back. It's changed back to anything then other soles of your 2 soles of your feet touches the fighting area or the ground. You're a down fighter. So if you want to be a down fighter now, you got to have one hand down. You're a down fighter. But what we say is flat hand down,
right? Or
some referees may say weight bearing. So flat hand down on the floor or any other part. So simply, or if you just drop to your knee, you're a down fighter. You cannot get kneed or kicked to the head. This is for professional MMA. So they have actually reverted back to that. And this is where they, like we're saying, not all states in America play on the same level playing field. There's lots of confusion. So I think one of the reasons they've gone back to it is that majority of the states, most of the fighters know that rule. Yeah. But what we say is, again, you can't play that fingertip game. It has to be a flat hand on the floor, weight bearing, okay? Yeah. Or like I said, simply just drop to your knee. You cannot get kneed or kicked to the head. But it happens, you know, like you said, on bigger shows, you still have people asking the questions, oh, is there 3 points or 4 points? No, just listen to my wording. There's no points, no 3 points, 2 points, 6 points. Just listen to what I'm telling you, and you'll be fine. But again, it's down again how referees interpret things across the board. You know, it's like back of the head. I'll give you another example while I'm at it. You've got me going.
Mate, I'm gonna ask you about the 12 to 6 as well.
12 to 6, okay. We can go on to that in a second as well. But it's like back of the head. You know, I still, you know, go to shows and I've worked with other referees where I've had to correct them. You know, I say they go, all right, they do rules to back of the head. Yeah, the headphone. You know, you got a headphone. It's this to this. Yeah. Like, that's not a definition of back of the head. It's the tip of the ear to the tip of the ear, 2-inch line at the back of your neck, etc. And I can see why fighters get confused, because when I do my rules talk and I give them the definition of the back of the head and what the legals and the illegal areas or shots to the back of the head, I'll be like, yeah, but the headphones, the thing comes across. I'm like, what fucking headphones? What the fuck are you on about? Or you still get fighters going, oh yeah, the mohawk. I'm like, what? That was like back in, you know, early 2000s, if that. You know, and it is, again, it's down to our fellow referees and education and keeping up to date. I regularly still go on and I look at stuff like what Goddard puts out. Big John, I know he still doesn't referee, but some of the stuff he puts out, some of the other referees like Kevin McDonald, etc. I still look up to those guys and, you know, try to adhere to what they say. If there's any changes coming, make sure I'm aware of it, you know. So,
is there any I will get onto the elbow one. One. There's so many questions I want to go over. Is there anything in the amateur side of ruling that you'd like to change or think should change?
No, to be fair, the amateur side of rule sets have been actually quite good. You know, is safe as it can be, to the point that it doesn't water it down, and at the same time that it's not too dangerous for the fighters. I.e., obviously you're not allowed no knees to the head, but obviously knees to the body are allowed. No elbows whatsoever. But again, going back to that, there's still some shows out there they allow elbows to the body. I'm like, what the fuck did you allow that for?
Yeah.
You don't want an 18-year-old or 17-year-old who's got to go to college or university the next day or a couple of days afterwards with a broken rib. Okay, yes, he can get kicked and punched and he can fracture a rib, but if you can make it that much safer, why not do it? But as far as amateur rules, no, I wouldn't at this moment in time. I wouldn't change anything that for that.
No.
So no, but.
No, because the reason why I asked that was because obviously, some shows will put guys on where they have to wear shinies, and stuff like that, and obviously other shows they bear shins.
Usually, some shows, yes, they do bear shins and they do amateur fights. So I've seen it on both ends. So I've seen it if it's i.e. like IMAF, it's a tournament format. So you're fighting multiple times in 1 week, okay? Or you could be fighting twice in 1 day, whatever the format is. Of course, you want to wear shin pads just to take that aspect of getting injured, make it less likely of getting injured in this tournament format. And now what I'm trying to implement with most of the shows I do, that if you're an amateur and this is your first, second, third, possibly full fight, do wear shin pads, okay? Just for the fact that, you don't injure yourself. There's less likely of injuring your opponent, and that's the good way of doing it. But then you get the argument, oh yeah, but when they grapple, they can't go for heel hooks or anything. But it's only leg locks that are allowed is knee bars and straight Achilles. No toe holds are allowed and stuff like that. So that kind of takes out context anyway. And then you do have other amateur fighters who don't wear shin pads, but they tend to be the guys who've had quite a lot of amateur fights. Exactly. But again, some promotions do allow it. But if I turn up and I think they're newbies, I will say, look, you've got to wear shin pads. You have to wear shin pads.
So what about in the pro side of the sport then? Is there any rules that you would like to see implemented or changed?
Again, I think like the one you're going to bring up is the 12 to 6 elbows. I say again, it's a weird one. If for years I think loads of people have been trying to get it changed. I don't think it will change yet. I don't know
funny enough,
it would happen. No?
Do you know what? I read again in a report that they were there. I can't remember which university it was, but they were doing a study on elbows and the impact factors and generate force generations and so on and so forth of elbows, and they're different types of elbows. Because what they're trying to do is they're trying to, like you say, because they're trying to implement or bring that into the sport. And what they're saying is, for some people that might not know, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, because obviously you'll know way more than me.
Go for it.
If I'm on my back and you're in my guard and I elbow you like this, that's not a 12 to 6 elbow.
No, it isn't. And as long as it lands in the legal areas, okay, so top of the head here, you're absolutely fine.
But if it becomes and I did this, that's a 12 to 6 elbow. And it's illegal.
Literally, the 12 to 6 elbow is 12 to 6. So when you look at the clock, you've got 12 and then you've got 6. If your elbow and your hand is like that and coming straight down in that straight line, that is 12 to 6. But I can still throw that kind of elbow as long if I'm 5 past and I can come down at an angle and land in the legal areas, I'm absolutely fine.
So the rules, if it's slightly arced, right? If there's an arced motion to it, then it's legal, right?
Again, legal, and as long as it lands in the legal area of the head, so not back of the head, etc. So like you said, it is a funny rule set, but I don't know. It's just when it would get
devil's advocate, mate. To be honest, I like just to put a bit of zing in there in the conversation because it's a hard one.
And it's like, because you're not even allowed to, because a lot of people say, oh, but I can throw 12 to 6s to their legs or to the body. You can't throw 12 to 6s, period. That's it. You can't throw them whatsoever. Not to the legs, not to the abdomen, not to the sternum, nowhere. Okay. And again, like a lot of people ask me, but hold on, why can't I go to the legs? And to some degree, they have got a point. I don't know if you've ever, at school used to, give
the old granny
elbow someone. Or exactly. It gives you a dead leg. Now, does that type of elbow elbow? Will it shatter a bone? Will it break your leg? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not in that field to do all them experiments. Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But look, at the end of the day, they do, you know, people do look at this, and if they think that it's not safe at the moment, I guess it's not safe, you know? And just maybe just where it's been like this for so long, you kind of think, okay, let's just stick with it the way it is. Why change it, you know?
Yeah. And one of the last questions, because we've only got 5 minutes left, mate. I know you want to tight time. What's it like officiating the different promotions? Obviously, Bellator has a completely different cage to what UFC does, and how it was for Bama and Cage Warriors as well. The dimensions of the cage is different, but primarily it's Bellator and UFC that are mainly different. What's it like? Is there anything different when it comes to officiating in those?
Cool. So I've got to correct you on something, because I wasn't going to correct you. I noticed it when I read the thing again. So I work for the commission side and the ops side for Bellator. So I don't actually referee on Bellator.
Okay.
Bellator, they bring their referees from the stateside, because they have the Mohegan Sun Commission, who me and Sam are licensed by, and we do the operation side of stuff with Bellator. And they bring their referees over. But it's not a lie that I have refereed in the type of octagon or type of cage or Bellator, because when Bellator used to co-promote with Bama, they used to use the same cage.
Yeah. So
it's the rounded cage, and obviously the UFC cage is the octagon. Is it any different? Not really. I'll tell you what's nice about it, though, is that both of them are very spacious. Not, you know, enough room to move around. Whereas some shows I've been in the UK, you know, it's been so small. Literally, you're tiptoeing around the fighters. You know, you get caught. Sometimes you get caught up in between the fights. You know, to move quick enough. You know, you try to move away as quick as you can. But yeah, you know, that's the big difference with promotions like Bellator and Bama, when I used to work for Bama, and UFC, is that the size of the cage and the canvas, the type of canvas that I have on there is lovely, because, you know, you pour water on there, it just soaks in. It's not like canvas down some of the local shows.
You're slipping have like a little channel around the outside where the ice can be scooped? Is that correct?
It's not, that's not the reason they have it. It's just the gap that they have in there where the cage slots in. And to be fair, most of the ice, no one's had a problem with bag splitting or anything like that, because you have the commissioners at the back making sure everything's doubled up. We make sure that everything is in a bucket, etc. But should that happen, should it spill, you just push the ice to the side, and the water will soak into the canvas. Whereas some shows, I know Cage Warriors had a couple of shows ago where it was so bloody, and everyone was just slipping everywhere. Or you have fighters in between fights, they're so sweaty. As soon as they get on the ground, you know, it does become a little bit unsafe. But again, it's costly to try to change a canvas every time you have an event, you know. So what do you do?
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Right. Well, the 2-minute warnings come up, so I'll probably take this opportunity. There's so much more I wanted to talk to you about, but we'll get our second chance, mate.
Well, my friend, let's do it again, my friend. I'm happy to do it. Give me a date, and we'll do it again. Again,
Sorry, I was saying the last question I wanted to ask was for anyone that's thinking about being a referee or venturing into that career. What's your advice? How can they get started?
My advice would be, look, right now we're fortunate enough to have, like I said, Goddard puts his referee course on. He done a judging course not long ago. Should he put down, I don't know when he's going to put one on, but should he put one on, obviously I'll have it on my page, he'll have it on his page. And you know, if you want to contact myself or Sam or Mehdi, just be prepared to put the work in, have the knowledge. It's not just, hey, I'm going to jump in, I'm going to referee, and it's all good. I get to get paid and go do this and travel here and travel there. You know, we've had many people come and go, and I've had people who are still with us and still shadowing, learning how to referee, learning how to judge, and you got to love. You do it for the love. You know, that's the bottom line of it. You know, it's like someone saying to you, "Hey, Paul, how do I become a BJJ black belt so I can have my own school and make this my living," kind of thing. And like, you know, as many people know it, and you said at the beginning of this podcast, you still have a daily job as well as teaching and running a club.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a matter of, I want to turn up, get my black belt, let me open up my academy, let me make loads of money. How does that happen? You know, you got to put the graft in. You got to be willing
100%
to know what you're doing. You know, but again, I'm happy if you want to contact me. I can give people the details on my social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter,
Nice.
Facebook, whatever.